Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is a spoiler-free review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Miles Morales swings across the multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people, the Spider Society, charged with protecting the multiple dimensions. When the heroes clash on how to handle the new threat, Miles must choose between saving one person or an entire universe. So I'm pretty high on this film. There were so many things that I loved about it. It's not a perfect film, so there are some flaws, and I will get into those in a bit. But I do want to start off with the positives. I'll start off with the visual style. It is incredible. I know you're probably going to get tired of hearing that from so many different reviews and people, but it really is. When you're watching it, it looks like a painting. There's so many different beautiful styles that are displayed, and I was just in awe. It kind of touched me on a cellular level, just how beautiful the art style was. Into the Spider-Verse pioneered this visual style, and Across the Spider-Verse has perfected it. I can't wait to see what they do with Beyond the Spider-Verse. With that said, there is no conclusion to this film. This is something that I warned my kids about because I knew it was going to be a two-parter, with part 2 coming out next March, Beyond the Spider-Verse. Even though I warned my kids, they were still disappointed, I think because they like to have a resolution in their films. And with this, we simply don't get one. It ends on somewhat of a cliffhanger with the promise that Miles Morales will be back in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Basically, the story feels incomplete. I know that people are super high on this movie, and we finally found something that the internet can all agree on. This movie is amazing. It's currently sitting at a 95% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 98% audience score. That's unheard of. So often lately, I've found that critics and audiences are not on the same page with movies. But Spider-Man has brought everybody back together. I really enjoyed this movie, but I do prefer the straightforward storytelling of the original Into the Spider-Verse over this one. The cast of characters is amazing in this, and Oscar Isaac, he just really commits to everything he does. He does the voice of Miguel O'Hara, and he was one of my favorite performances because he's just so gritty, raw, and real. Shameik Moore is brilliant as Miles Morales, and Hailee Steinfeld is just so great as Gwen Stacy. Her performance in this is a little more subdued, and it's really appreciated. I love Jake Johnson as Peter Parker. His voice is so great, and his little baby in this is freaking adorable.
Gave me cookie, got you cookie. You gave me cookie, I got you cookie, man.
I thought the Indian Spider-Man played by Karan Soni was a great addition and was pretty hilarious as well. There's some really cool cameos in this movie that I do not want to spoil, but they are great, so be on the lookout for those. There are some really interesting themes in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, one of them being, the pen is in your hands. You are the author of your own fate. Don't hand the pen over to someone else to write your story. It's your story. Another theme that is present is when Gwen Stacy says that she's learned that anything is possible with Miles Morales. This is true for all of us. When you're watching this movie, you feel like anything is possible, so go follow your dreams. That's what I'm doing here. So I thought based on the trailer that I was going to feel quite a bit emotionally, and I think I was spared a little bit. It doesn't go into territory that was super dark. That may not be the case for the finale, but in this one we were pretty safe. This movie made me feel empowered, shocked at times, and I felt conflicted as I was rooting for Miles Morales, but I didn't agree with his choices. I would likely be doing the same exact thing as Miles is doing if I was in his situation, but I found myself siding more with the ideals of Miguel O'Hara, who is the main secret society Spider-Man. The film does a great job of explaining canon events, which are events that can't be changed, and if they do somehow happen to be changed, it destroys an entire universe. The film posits that grief, death, and loss are all a huge part of people becoming who they are meant to be. This is very true with all of the Spider-Man stories, as death of close loved ones is interwoven into so many of the Spider-Man stories. So the visual style and cinematography, as I mentioned before, is incredible, but there are times where it can be a little bit distracting and there was way too much going on at a single time. It was a little overwhelming for the senses. I found that some of the time there was so much going on visually that it made it hard to focus on what the characters were saying and what the story beats were. Anytime Gwen and her father are on screen together, the colors come alive. They really are showing off the animation style during these sequences. My daughter even mentioned that when Gwen was sad, her color would turn to a more blue tint. There are no mid or post-credit scenes in this movie, but it's worth sticking around those initial credits for that cool animation. The movie clocks in at 2 hours and 15 minutes, and this film did feel a little long to me. The film took a long time to find its legs and get into the actual plot. Much of the first hour was big set pieces and getting our characters back together. So as I mentioned before, this film is not perfect and there are some flaws and critiques. One of the main flaws is that there doesn't feel like there's a real villain. The Spider-Verse itself feels like it is the main villain of the film. Spot, I think, is supposed to be that character. It's supposed to be the main villain, but he never comes off as threatening in the beginning, and then you don't see him much throughout the rest of the film, so maybe they're saving him for Beyond the Spider-Verse to be the ultimate villain. The film treats him like he's a bit of a joke villain. He even has a line of, "My holes can take me anywhere." And someone says to him, "Can you stop talking about your holes? It's making us uncomfortable." Another flaw for me was how long the story took to get rolling. I kept thinking to myself, what is this movie about? And like I said before, about halfway through the film, they really get into what the movie's going to be about. They set it up and then just cut it right off. So you're waiting, until next March to find out what's going to happen. There isn't as much humor in this film, which I'm okay with. That or the humor didn't really land in this one. Another complaint was that Hobie Brown, one of the Spider-Men, was really hard to understand. Now maybe it was the mix in our theater, but I couldn't understand hardly a word he was saying. And the last complaint I'll mention, as I said before, is that sometimes the film has so much going on that it can be a bit overwhelming. My kids, who are 7 and 10, had a hard time following what the plot was. When you get into multi-dimensional multiverses, it can be very complicated to understand what's going on. And there are some plot things that happen where my 10-year-old came over and said, "What is happening right now?" So if you have kids in that 5 to 10 range, they may be a little bit confused and you may need to preface things with them or explain things to them afterwards. So who is this movie for? Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is for anyone who enjoyed the first Miles Morales adventure, anyone who's into comics, and anyone who's into superheroes in general. It's a PG movie, so I really think anyone can enjoy this film. Kids 5 and under, I think, will have a hard time understanding it, so this might not be a movie for them. It was quite good and I really enjoyed it, but with it being a two-parter without a conclusion or a clearly defined ending, it didn't rise to the level of the original Into the Spider-Verse for me. I may need to marinate on it a little bit more, but while I do that, if you're feeling sexy, my friend, hit that subscribe button here and check out the top 10 reasons why you should be excited about the Barbie movie here, and I will catch you in the next one.